fairly certain everyone in Fontaine knows that name. She's a formidable champion duelist after all, although I find her quite easy to get along with. In my experience, the stronger a person is in combat, the more open they are in conversation. A truly energetic young lady. Being a journalist, I would imagine quite a few people see her as nothing but trouble. But that hasn't been my experience. Even after discovering the true nature of my work, she still chose to keep it to herself. This despite the fact that she had no reason to help me, and it probably wasn't in her professional interest to do so. So I have quite a high opinion of her. If she ever needed my help, I would certainly not refuse. As a perfumer, if your sense of smell starts to become dull, there's actually quite an easy solution: drinking fresh water. I'm not usually strict about the water I drink, but out of curiosity, I once attended a water tasting event organized by Monsieur Neuvillette. He had such an abstract yet distinctive understanding of the distinguishing features of different types of water. It almost reminded me of the way magazine articles talk about perfume. He took the time to understand my needs and recommended a few water sources to me with utmost sincerity. He was so considerate. Sometimes I choose to buy the varieties he recommended, even if just out of respect for him. You know Wriothesley? Well, aren't you full of surprises? From what I know, the Duke tries to keep a very low profile. Most people don't even know he exists. Monsieur Neuvillette once tried to recommend my services to him, but apparently he thought that the Fortress of Meripede would have no occasion for them. I can't know what his reasons were for turning me down, as I've never met him in person. But if I was to speculate, I would say perhaps there are certain things he doesn't want washed away. Perhaps he prefers to leave them there, as a warning. I've only met him in person a few times, but we communicate by letter often. He reached out to me first, writing a letter after tracking down my details through some roundabout way. He was extremely polite, and it was incredibly flattering to have such a renowned botanist ask for my flower-related expertise. But I also saw it as a chance to learn from him. I decided to ask some of my own questions, particularly about perfume ingredients from Sumeru, and he gave me thorough answers to each and every one. Now our correspondence is much more casual. He even tells me about his companion sometimes. I really am delighted I got this opportunity to make a new friend. If I'm not mistaken, I believe Miss Sigewinne met me when I was very young. Too young to remember. Oh, I probably haven't told you. My father works for the Maréchaussée Phantom, so we often have Melusines over as guests. Apparently, the Melusines were often the ones looking after me as a baby. But Miss Sigewinne has never treated me as her junior. She always speaks highly of my perfume, so whenever I make a new sample, I usually set aside an extra for her. I'm not sure if she ever mentioned it, but we met each other through work. Although most of our conversations aren't nearly as serious as our jobs would suggest. One time, she told me she read a novel about a perfumer who makes a scent using human tissue. Fictional, of course, but in the story, it turns out to be astonishingly successful. The finest perfume ever made. Based on my own experience, I find it hard to believe the scent would turn out quite so wonderful in real life. Chevreuse wasn't too focused on the feasibility, though. She was too busy trying to unravel all the legal liabilities involved in a situation like that. As a designer, Chiori has a keen eye for trends. Although we deal in completely different products, I still enjoy listening to her talk about the creative thought process behind her designs. Not to mention, she has a pretty good eye when it comes to perfume. Whenever I have her test out my new products, she always manages to pick the one that ends up selling the best.